Triple E EDC back again with another knife video. This is the Protech Strider SnG operator with the Tritium insert. And I know that's a mouthful, but that's the name of it. So this is the Sterile edition. What that means is there's no writing on the blade. So let's look at the old trusty XM24. So you have the Endura logo. You have USA CPM 20 CV. So, you know, that wouldn't be considered sterile. Or you have USA on here. That wouldn't be considered sterile because sterile means it's clean. It's not. There's nothing on there. So here, there's no. And let's look at a Protech to show you this. This is the Invictus. So you got the Prometheus Design Works logo. You have Protech USA. You have Made in USA. None of that is on this knife. This is sterile. And so that's one of the draws of this knife. And this is a finish that I think is going to become more common in knives because it was a huge success. I think it's going to become more common in Protech's offerings. So speaking of Prometheus Design Works, the Invictus, this same finish was just released on this knife. Now, I wanted to get it, but I ended up being tied up in too many knives at one time and wasn't able to get it. But you can also get this same finish in this knife right now. It's sold out, but you'll probably see a few pop up on the secondary market. All right, let's go ahead and talk about the Strider SnG. So this is one of the most iconic knives, the Strider SnG, that there is in the knife world. Strider, of course, is part of the holy trinity of Chris Reeve, Rick Hinderer, and Mick Strider. And so, you know, this is the fact that he's doing a collaboration with Protech here. Protech is manufacturing essentially his design into an automatic and in doing these special runs. This is a limited run. It's a big deal, and people, you know, respond in a big way, and that's why these are sold out. But a lot of people are gonna, you know, command a price on the secondary market for these, and so even though it's a limited run knife, don't want to see discontinue because they may release a couple of more with COVID going on. But even though it's a limited release, and people may not, you know, be able to buy one straight from a dealer from Protech, these will pop up on the secondary market. People are going to be wondering about, you know, about this knife and whether it's worth, you know, the probably elevated price considering it's a limited run and the scarcity and the demand. So, you know, I figured it'd be good to go ahead and do a review on this. So let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. These will become important later. So this is the Spyderco Para 3 and the Paramilitary 2. You can see the Paramilitary 2 is an excellent size comparison for this knife. It's a little bit shorter on the butt end than the SnG, but otherwise pretty much fits it to a T. We'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and take a look at it against the Spyderco Shaman. And which is, you know, as far as the butt end, it's about the same size as a Shaman if you include the butt end of this knife. So let's go ahead and look at the Super Freak, Benchmade Super Freak, and the ZT-0392. That's the same size as an Eclipse. Hinderer Full Track. So you can see it's a big knife, but it's not an overly big knife. This is a ZT-0308. Let's do some more size comparisons here. As you can see, it's a lot smaller than the ZT-0308. And let's bring that Invictus back, which is a pretty good size comparison. And another knife that I think a lot of people would have here is, if I can find it, is the Inkosi, this Reeve Inkosi. And the ZT-0462. 0452, 62, 52, I'm sorry. Can't keep all the numbers straight all the time. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about this knife. So what's good about this knife? So right off the bat, I will tell you the ergonomics on this, especially up here by the choil, are fantastic. When you grip up by the choil, this is one of the best ergonomic knives I think I've felt in a long time. And this is my first time, you know, with an SnG, with a Strider. I haven't ever owned one of the real Striders, but as far as the shape goes, I mean, the in this choke up position, the ergonomics are excellent. The looks of this, the aesthetics, are some of the best aesthetics I've seen on any knife. And what I mean by that is the overall iconic shape of the Strider is the Strider SnG is really attractive. You put on top of that this all black sterile, and that makes it even more attractive because the normal all black version isn't sterile. And then you put on top of that the Tritium insert, and if you see some of the, when the lights are out, this thing glows. All right, so let me explain what tritium is in case people don't know. Tritium is it's like a radioactive isotope. So yes, you're wearing on your body something that's radioactive. It emits extremely low level of radiation. It's been considered pretty much completely safe for people, but it's cool because it lights up, it stays glow in the dark essentially without having to be charged by light for like 10 or 12 years before it finally burns out. That's the half-life. So tritium's a really cool thing when the lights are out, this knife, and I won't show it to you here, or maybe I will. Let me go turn the lights out just a second so you can see it. Yeah, so you guys can probably see that button glowing there if you're looking. Pretty cool. But you can definitely see it when especially in low light. I should say in no light, you just see sort of that one bar, but in low light, you see the whole silhouette of the knife with that bar, and it just looks fantastic. The other thing is the grind on here is a pretty nice grind. This blade is pretty slicey. I haven't cut too much with it because I decided right away I was going to resell it while it was still sort of a hot item to buy. But I could tell that it is a pretty slicey blade here, and very nice grind on it. The jimping on here is very nice. It's not too sharp. It is nicely spaced, especially in a rugged fashion. It gives you a really nice grip on here. You're gonna have no problems. I don't know what the jimping is for here because you don't really touch that part of the knife. I think it's probably just aesthetic, but this one isn't sharp here in the back either, in case anyone was curious. The price on this is pretty good, but not, crazy good. The normal all black one that isn't sterile is like $225. This was $285. So this is a little collectible. So the price is good, and especially for a Protech, that's pretty much what you're paying. I think the Invictus was like $280, and the Magic 2 was like $280 or $285. So it's pretty much right in there with everything else. This is a Protech, so you're getting 154 cm blade steel, which is a much better blade steel than people give it credit for. And this is an aluminum handle, and a lot of people complain about aluminum, but Protech does aluminum very well, just like Microtech does aluminum very well on the Socom Elite. Love the aluminum on the Socom Elite. And another high-end knife that, some people complained about, but it's aluminum, and the Benchmade Infidel has very nice rugged aluminum on it as well. So yeah, aluminum's a great material. I'm under the impression that this is a titanium clip that they've added to the aluminum chassis here. I think I've read that on the sites that it's titanium, not a regular steel clip. So that's an interesting addition. But overall, the materials and everything are fairly good, and I think it's a good price on the knife. Let's talk about what is bad here. What's bad here really is two things. Well, three things. One is the clip is very tight, and it's very tight. So it's not the easiest thing to get in and out of your pocket. Now, it can be bent out, but I knew since I was reselling it, I wasn't going to try it. And it's titanium. It's not really steel, so it may not bend the same way. But it is a very tight clip, hard to get in and out of your pocket. So that's number one. Number two is, while the ergonomics up on the choil are fantastic, and you can see how it fills the hand here, and I have a large size glove hand. The ergonomics back here, I don't like, for a couple reasons. One is this point is inconveniently like right here on my palm, which kind of makes no sense. So I feel like you have a flat here, and then it's forcing the point of that into my hand for no reason. Don't really love that, and I don't know why more people, I guess, don't talk about that issue. And the main issue, the real reason that this isn't a knife that's going to hang around is the blade to handle ratio. So we saw the Invictus before. I want you to take a look at the difference, in this knife. So in this knife, the blade to handle ratio is a little bit better, right? A little bit better. But you don't have the same ergonomic problems you do on this one. Now, let's bring in a different knife, probably a better size comparison, the Spyderco Para 2. So this is a knife that is extremely popular, but is something people complain about all the time, and a lot of people just don't like it for this reason, is that the handle is much bigger than the blade. The handle is like 5 inches and some change. The blade is like 3 1/4 inches with a small cutting edge. So if you look at the Bug Out, for example, let's look at the Benchmade Bug Out. As you can see, the Benchmade Bug Out is a much smaller knife than the Para 2 and the SnG here. However, the cutting edge on the Bug Out is pretty much the same cutting edge on the PM2, and you can see it's packed into a smaller knife. So this has good blade to handle ratio, pretty much 1-to-1, right? This one doesn't. This one's even worse, because even though the handles are about the same, and even though the blades are about the same, the cutting edges are not as good. So if you look over here, the cutting edge on the Protech with that choil is pretty small. It's under 3 inches, right? And so you have a couple of problems with that. One problem is, if you have a 3-inch law in your state, you've got a cutting edge under 3 inches, but your blade is clearly over 3 inches, right? So that's a problem. And the other fact is that when you're holding it back here on the knife, look how much space there is between your pointer and and where the blade starts. So you don't feel like you have control, because the closer you get to your pointer finger, the more control you have on that area of the knife, right? Let's take a look back at that, ZT0452. So even though there's, a nice size sharpening choil here, the distance, between where the blade starts and your hand is tremendous. Like I said, it's the same if you choke up, but if you choke back, look how far it is. It would be like holding this knife over here. And it becomes unwieldy. So I have a big problem with that. I don't like that. It's a design of Strider, and a lot of people love Strider. A lot of people love the knives. And again, if you choke up, it's not a problem. But I just feel like you've got such a large knife. Why isn't this blade longer? And this sharpening choil is completely unnecessary, right? Because even though I would like a sharpening choil on the PM2, right? Because it just goes right into the half choil right here. Here, they could have put the edge to the end of the choil. You put your finger in the choil. You're not really in danger of the choil, of your finger getting cut from the blade. Protech's able to do it fine in this knife. Put it right up to the choil over here. And many, many other knives are able to do that as well. I mean, let's look at some other knives that do that as well, right? So this is, the VDK Impaler. So again, no sharpening choil, it just goes right up to the finger choil, and the finger choil is the sharpening choil. So that's how most knives handle it. I'm not sure if it's because it's part of the iconic design that they do it that way, but you're losing that much cutting edge, which is too much cutting edge to lose when you have this big of a finger choil, and you're that far away from the blade. It just is what it is, right? because it still has that sort of half choil thing going on, where it's half of the blade is the choil and half of the handle is the choil that Spyderco likes to do. So that's a negative on it, and that's probably the biggest reason I don't like it. There is one more thing I should point out, is that it's a little bit annoying, is that this button rotates. So if you're a little OCD like I am, you can rotate the button. Every time you press it, it'll rotate somewhere else. And you know, you can get it looking wonky, and the kicking action of this will start to rotate it, or you know, pushing it forward or something like that will start to rotate it. Now you can rotate it back around by moving it, or you're holding the button down. See, you can rotate it back around, but it's just annoying for someone who's a little OCD, because then you got to get it perfect. I'm a little OCD. So that's really the, all these complaints are to say, this is an amazing knife. And if you like the Strider design, if the Strider design is for you, you will love this knife, okay? But if you're like me, where I love this knife in this dimension, but I don't in this dimension, you know, then it's not going to be probably worth it for you to keep around, especially with the blade to handle ratio and the sharpening choil that doesn't need to be there. So that's, I think that's where I stand on the knife at the end of the day. This is a full, you know, it's a full recommend with some reservations that you should just be aware of for certain people. I think that's pretty much it. If you found this review helpful, or if you like my reviews, you can go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, so you can get all my content. I do a lot of giveaways, so make sure you hit the notification bell. Also, go ahead and drop a like on this video if you found it helpful, and drop me a comment. Let me know if you own a Strider, if you or a Protech Strider, either one. If you want to trash me, if you want to tell me you feel the same way, then either way is great. Either way, this thing is headed out to a new home, and I know the owner is going to enjoy it, because it's really it's a very, very nice knife. So this is Triple E EDC signing off. Thank you.